Recent years, we have seen how global tensions have been rising, both among major world powers and between their allies and strategic adversaries. The current scenario is marked by a complex web of political, military, and economic interests that could trigger a series of global conflicts. The United States, one of the traditional superpowers, seems to be sleepwalking into an increasingly dangerous situation, while other important players like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea are consolidating their relationships and military capabilities. The United States faces a series of challenges that go beyond what is visible to the naked eye. Despite maintaining an image of military strength and global leadership, cracks are appearing in its defense structure. Experts have warned that in the event of a prolonged conflict, the United States could run out of ammunition in just a few weeks. This alarming fact was revealed by a recent report commissioned by the US Congress, which underlines that the country is not prepared to sustain a prolonged war with powers like China or Russia. Reactivating arms production in the event of a conflict would take years, which would leave the country vulnerable in a crisis situation. The international landscape is further complicated by the formation of new alliances between the United States' main rivals. Russia, one of the key players in this scenario, has strengthened its relations with Iran, China, and North Korea. This coalition of countries, which shares a common interest in challenging the Western-led international order, has begun to make important strategic moves. Iran, for example, has already sent hundreds of missiles to Russia, a gesture that not only strengthens Russia's military position in its conflict with Ukraine, but also shows the depth of the alliance between these two countries. Iran's support for Russia is not limited to the provision of missiles. Experts warn that this is just the beginning. In the future, Iran could exponentially increase its supply of weapons to Russia, sending thousands of missiles and other military equipment. This collaboration has generated concern in Europe, especially in countries like France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. These countries have responded with diplomatic measures and sanctions, cutting bilateral air service agreements, and taking other actions to limit Iranian influence in the region. The scenario becomes even more worrying when considering the possibility of these tensions escalating into a larger conflict involving not only Ukraine and Russia, but also other world powers. Meanwhile, Poland, a country that shares a border with Ukraine, has taken steps to prepare for a possible expansion of the conflict. In the last 4 years, Poland has doubled the size of its army, aware of the threat posed by the proximity to a large-scale conflict. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused Poland to significantly increase its military capacity, which in turn has caused Russia to also reinforce its forces. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the increase in the size of the Russian armed forces to 1.5 million soldiers, making Russia one of the largest military powers in the world. This type of military escalation by both sides could trigger a direct confrontation that would involve not only European countries, but also members of NATO. Amidst all of this, world leaders seem to be making strategic decisions that could lead the world to a point of no return. During the US presidential campaign, former President Donald Trump was one of the few to point out the danger of limiting access to information and restricting transparency on national security issues. Trump warned that decisions being made behind closed doors could have disastrous consequences and questioned why access to critical information that could help prepare the population and leaders for what might be coming is being limited. One of the main concerns that has arisen is the lack of preparedness of the United States for a conflict with China, one of the main threats to US hegemony today. According to the report commissioned by Congress, if the United States enters into a conflict with China, it could exhaust its ammunition reserves in just 3 to 4 weeks. This situation is alarming, especially when you consider that replenishing those reserves could take years. This leaves the United States in an extremely vulnerable position in the event of a prolonged conflict. Historically, the United States has allocated a significant portion of its gross domestic product, or GDP, to national defense. During World War II, the country went so far as to allocate up to 40% of its GDP to the production of weapons and other military resources. However, today that figure has decreased significantly, which has drawn criticism from security experts. The Biden administration, like the previous Trump administration, has been criticized for not allocating enough resources to defense at a time when international tensions are reaching unprecedented levels. Given this outlook, it is recommended that the population not only be attentive to what is happening in the international arena, but also prepare for possible economic repercussions. Experts have warned that if these tensions lead to a large-scale conflict, the impact on the global economy would be devastating. We are already seeing how inflation is affecting the price of food and other essential goods. In the event of a prolonged war, prices could skyrocket even further, leading to a supply crisis and an unsustainable economic situation for millions of people around the world. The analyst's recommendation is clear. It is important to be prepared both emotionally and economically. In times of uncertainty, it is essential to save, manage resources well, and be aware of the risks that lie ahead. It is not about creating panic, but about acting responsibly and with foresight. People need to be prepared to face a scenario in which the prices of food and other essential goods could increase exponentially, and in which international conflicts could have a direct impact on daily life. The world is at a crossroads. The decisions made in the coming months and years will determine the future of global stability. It is crucial that citizens stay informed, not only through traditional media, but also by seeking reliable sources of information that offer an in-depth analysis of what is happening. International alliances are changing, and tensions between the major world powers could trigger a conflict with incalculable consequences. Preparation and information are key to facing whatever may come. In conclusion, we are living in times of great uncertainty. Tensions between the United States and its strategic rivals, such as Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, are at their highest point in decades. The possibility of a large-scale conflict is neither distant nor improbable, and it is important that we are all aware of it. The implications of these tensions are not limited to the military sphere. They also have a direct impact on the economy and daily lives of people around the world. Being prepared for what may come is essential to navigating this complex and dangerous global landscape.